history, of course, is a collection of moments that push us forward as a human species. As a Christian, I believe that God is behind the scenes, that he's organizing history. He has given us free will. And so because of that, God doesn't always get what he desires, right? He would desire that we would all love each other perfectly and that we would worship him perfectly and that we would push away false idols and that we would live lives that give him glory. We don't do that, right? He doesn't get everything he desires, but he gets everything he decrees, right? And God has decreed the ends from the beginning and the beginning from the ends. And so God's plan is working out. And that's what makes him God, is he's that good, is he can accomplish his decrees, even with the cooperation of free will creatures. It's really an incredible thing. Every once in a while, there are these watershed moments, and they really do significantly change the course of history, even if just for a season of time. And life and history tends to work in these seasons, action, reaction. The pendulum swings and it swings until it can't sustain, and then it swings back. There are all kinds of moments like this. Like, I think about great images that we have, these images that signify these historical watershed moments where things change and they'll never be the same. Like George Washington crossing the Delaware River, right? We have these paintings, this amazing moment, right, of Washington, and it's in the dead of night and it's freezing cold and he's covered by fog and he's crossing the Delaware. And that is a moment in history that changed everything. And, now it's like everyone's so skeptical. It's like, we don't even really know if George Washington existed. Like, is George Washington really a real person?
Wow.
And, it's like, well, he had no biological kids. So how do we know? In Mount Vernon, he has like a mausoleum and like Martha's bones are just thrown on top of him. Sure they are, right? Okay, now obviously George Washington was a real person. If you know me, you know that my Labradoodle is named George Washington.
Wow.
And he was our first president, and this was a key moment in the Revolutionary War. And if America had lost the Revolutionary War, history would look significantly different, right? So this is a key, just milestone moment. They talk about in ancient times, the moment that they crossed the Rubicon, right? Is the Rubicon a river? There's like a lot of historical moments, key moments where they're crossing bodies of water. Let me see if I can think of a key historical moment that didn't require crossing water. Okay, Moses and the crossing. No, that's water. No, here we go. Joshua and the Jordan. No, that's crossing water. Okay, so basically every good moment is someone crossing some body of water. Okay, no, I've got one. Christopher Columbus. Dang it. All right. No, there's all of these moments, right? And there's amazing. Sometimes they're captured either in painting or more recently in photographs, and you see that moment, and it's a watershed moment, and things will never be the same. The Million Man March and MLK and his speech, and just looking out over the reflecting pool, standing in front of the Washington Monument, in between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, like these moments, right? They change things so significantly, and sometimes they change for the better, and sometimes they change for the worse. And when you're living in the moment, you really don't have the perspective to see what it's going to be yet. Okay, you can make your guesses, and everyone takes their political positions. But I think we had a moment like this, which, regardless of your political persuasions or opinions, I think it shifted the course of history, at least for the next season. And it's not going to probably be a surprise to you. I think this image did more to decide the outcome of the 2024 election than any single other moment leading up to it, than anything that Trump did in his first presidency, than anything that Biden did in his presidency, than any of the campaign stops. I think it was more important than the debate performances. As a matter of fact, I think Trump pretty obviously lost the second debate performance after Joe Biden stepped out and Kamala Harris stepped in. This moment right here, when I saw it, I was like, oh, dude, nothing else matters. Like, unless the world ends and Christ returns, like after this moment, I was so confident who the next president was going to be, for better or for worse. And of course, this is the moment where Trump took a bullet to the head, right? Well, technically, Clayton, it wasn't his head, it was his ear. Dude, your ear's a part of your head.
Wow.
I'm a doctor, and your ear is on the side of your head.
Wow.
And there's blood, and he got tackled by Secret Service, and nobody knew what was going on. And then it's incredible. He actually in the video, you can see this photographer risk his own life or her own life, whoever it was, to run and position themselves to get this image, right? The American flag waving behind him, Trump's fist raised up in the air. And this changed things. And I was convinced at this moment that as long as Trump made it to November, he would win. And if you love Trump, then that's, great news for you. If you despise Trump, that's really bad news for you. But it really didn't matter. This is a watershed moment. And I think part of why this moment resonated so significantly is because the question for Trump is how much of his political persona is theater? How much of his populist agenda is just about political expediency? He's a brash New York billionaire. The thing I knew about him growing up is like his whole apartment was made out of gold or something like that. Like he's like this King Nebuchadnezzar figure, just like on the pages of history. He's a womanizer. He's totally seemingly out of touch with all of us non-billionaires, which is like everybody, right? And all of a sudden he runs as like, I'm for you. And his big tagline is like, they're coming for me, but they're really coming for you. And I'm just standing in their way. And it's like, how exactly do we buy, like, what's the litmus test for us truly believing that you're about this life? Like that you really, and so I think early indicator was it became obvious if you were paying attention early that moving from the business sector to politics was not going to be financially productive for Trump. Now, you'll probably tell me I'm wrong in the comments, but a $400,000 salary to a billionaire doesn't matter. And Trump is a little bit unique in that he did not take the $400,000 salary. I think maybe there was one other president who did that. If not, he's the first to just say, no, I'm not going to take that salary. I'm not going to, take money from the American people, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay, he was, you could argue, politically persecuted because of going into office and then running again. All of, the charges and the 4 different cases and the 93 indictments and tens of millions of dollars in fines. And so it's like, okay, now he's enduring something for this. And so what is it? Is he a spoiled brat and he just can't stand to lose and he's just trying to protect his legacy? He could just be on yachts. He could just be on vacations. He's old and very wealthy. And if anything is going to call out BS, like you're not really about this life, you're not really fighting for some kind of actual idea, it's getting shot in the head.
Wow.
And so this moment, I think, for so many people who just could not believe, Trump, the reason Trump won and won the popular vote is because so many people who were like, dude, I just can't do it. This is so fake. This billionaire, he's on our side now. He's fighting for us. Whatever, dude. He's a selfish, self-obsessed, narcissistic billionaire. And maybe he is, dude. That's still very possible, right? That's like every other politician, okay? They're not billionaires, but they're narcissists and self-obsessed, corrupt. So it's like this moment, a lot of people, it's evident, we're like, okay, there is something real to this. There is something about being put through the fire. There's something about a test of this magnitude. And in these moments, you can't fake a response. In these moments, there is something that gets displayed about some aspect of your character, if nothing else, whether or not you truly are a fighter, whether or not you're truly willing to stand up, literally under fire, whether or not you're going to hang it up, whether or not you were going to continue with your mission. There were a lot of reasons for him to turn back, and he didn't. And I think the greatest evidence of the shift that this moment right here caused is people no longer had to be silent about their support for one of the two candidates. There was never any danger in supporting Hillary. There was never any danger in supporting Biden. There was never any danger in supporting Harris. And when I say danger, I mean just like culturally, you weren't going to be like at risk of cultural cancellation, whatever that means. That's like probably a played out idea, but people genuinely, there was the silent Trump vote. It's why it was so hard to get polling on him. And all of a sudden you see big influential people who come out and endorse him. And I think more importantly than that, you see people start doing his dance in the end zone of football games. It becomes not only politically acceptable, but it becomes socially acceptable and even a social trend to take aspects of the Trump persona and to plug and play them into culturally relevant moments. And because of that, for the first time in 20 years, someone on the right not only won, but won the popular vote, isn't facing this massive backlash and criticism, has what many are describing as a pretty clear mandate. And I do think it is not a Republican mandate as much as it is a populist mandate. The government is corrupt and we need to fix it, and things are out of control. And so if you can come in and you're willing to put your life on the line for it, and you're willing to take a bullet for it, and you're saying you're going to stand for everyone, for the people, and you're saying you're going to root out corruption, and it seems like corruption is coming your way, trying to stop you from stopping it, and you're willing to stand up and throw a fist up and say, fight, 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 then maybe, just maybe you'll do it. And so I think it changed the course of immediate history, of course, by putting Trump in the White House, and we'll see how that goes, right? It's like you vote for who you vote, and you feel how you feel, and then you just have to see how it goes. And so we will, we're a few days away, a couple weeks away from him coming into office. So we'll see how it goes. But it also just changed how we're talking about politics, the acceptability of certain candidates. And what we're seeing is we are seeing a populist movement all across the world right now. Justin Trudeau just stepped down. We are seeing the more woke side of things in many areas being pulled out. We're seeing some more conservative based values, but even more than that, I think populism based values coming into play. And time will tell. It's very difficult to see the ramifications of certain political moments when you're in the moment. And so time will tell, and history will tell, and we'll see how it all plays out.